My name is Noor. It means light in Arabic. For 24 years I lived in darkness, though I wore diamonds. I lived in chains, though I walked through palaces. I lived in silence, though the world knew my family's name. Tonight I stand before you, not as a princess, not as a political symbol, not as a headline, but as a witness to love that breaks every chain, a witness to truth that costs everything, a witness to the one who calls himself the light of the world. This is my testimony, the cage of gold. I was born into the house of Saud in Riyadh, the youngest daughter of a prince whose name opened every door in the kingdom. My childhood was a contradiction wrapped in silk. We had 12 palaces, but I could not walk freely in the streets. We had private jets, but I needed permission to leave the country. We had wealth beyond measure, but I could not choose my own life. My mother taught me early, you are royal. That means your life is not your own. Your marriage will be arranged. Your children will serve the kingdom. Your voice will echo only what you are told to say. She said this without malice. She believed it. She had lived it. 3 generations of women in my family had lived it. I remember being 7 years old, watching my oldest sister Amira prepare for her wedding. She was 19. The groom was 46, a cousin she had met twice. I found her crying in the bathroom, her henna-painted hands shaking. Don't cry on your wedding day, I said, repeating what the aunts told us. She looked at me with hollow eyes. Little Noor, she whispered, learn to cry silently. It's the only rebellion they allow. I didn't understand then. I do now. By the time I turned 16, the whispers began. Noor is coming of age. We must find a suitable match. Suitable meant politically advantageous. Suitable meant someone who would strengthen alliances, secure business deals, maintain the family's standing. Love was never part of the calculation. My father would review portfolios, yes, portfolios of potential husbands as if selecting an investment. I tried to excel in my studies, thinking education might save me. I learned English, French, and Mandarin. I studied international law at King Saud University. I read everything I could access, which was carefully curated, but occasionally included books that spoke of freedom, human rights, individual dignity. These concepts felt like water to someone dying of thirst, but knowledge without freedom is its own torture. The announcement. On my 22nd birthday, my father summoned me to his office. I knew before he spoke. The set of his jaw, the formality of the setting, the presence of my uncle, all signals that my fate had been decided. Noor, you have been blessed. Prince Khalid ibn Abdullah has asked for your hand. He is 42, a widower with 3 children, and a respected military commander. The engagement will be announced next month. The wedding will take place in 4 months. 4 months, to prepare for a lifetime with a stranger. I had seen Prince Khalid once, at a state function. He had cold eyes and a reputation for cruelty toward his subordinates. His first wife had died under mysterious circumstances that no one discussed publicly. His children were raised by nannies because he found them inconvenient. I did what I had been trained never to do. I spoke. Father, I don't want this marriage. I don't know this man. I don't love him. The room froze. My uncle's face darkened. My father's expression shifted from surprise to controlled rage. Love? He said the word, as if it were profane. You are not a Western girl watching movies. You are a princess of the House of Saud. You will do your duty. This discussion is over. I tried again. Please, father, give me time. Let me... Enough! His voice cracked like a whip. You will marry Prince Khalid. You will bear his children. You will honor this family. Or you will learn what it means to shame us. Do you understand? I understood. I understood that in my world, a woman's no meant nothing. I understood that my body was not mine. I understood that the cage, no matter how golden, was still a cage. That night I cried until I couldn't breathe, but Amira's words echoed. Learn to cry silently. The secret garden. My one escape was the palace library. Not the public one, but a smaller private collection that had belonged to my grandfather. Here, among dusty volumes, I could disappear for hours. The guards knew me, considered me harmless, just another bookish princess filling empty days. It was here, 3 months before my forced wedding, that I found a leather-bound book hidden behind a row of poetry collections. The cover was worn, the pages yellowed. In English, it read, The Holy Bible. I had been taught about Christianity in the way one learns about ancient history, distant, irrelevant, inferior to Islam. Christians were lost, we were told. They had corrupted their scriptures. They worshipped 3 gods. They were to be pitied or avoided. But I was desperate, and desperation makes you curious. I opened to a random page, the Gospel of John, chapter 8. The story of a woman caught in adultery, dragged before Jesus by religious leaders demanding her execution according to the law. I read his response, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone." My hands trembled. These men, these religious authorities, they walked away. All of them. And Jesus told the woman, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." A man who refused to condemn. A God who defended a vulnerable woman against powerful men. This was not the God I had been taught about. I devoured that Bible over the next weeks, hiding it in my clothing, reading by flashlight under my covers, memorizing passages in case it was discovered and burned. Each page felt like oxygen to my suffocating soul. The Beatitudes destroyed me. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. I was starving for righteousness, for justice, for freedom. The Psalms gave words to my anguish. The Lord is close to the broken-hearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. And then Paul's letter to the Galatians, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." Freedom, not as a political concept, but as a spiritual reality. Christ died to set prisoners free, not just from sin, but from every chain that binds the human soul. I wept when I read about Jesus with the Samaritan woman at the well, an outcast woman with a broken past, and Jesus spoke to her, knew her, offered her living water, told her, "God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." Truth. My entire life had been built on carefully constructed lies and performances, but Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." Late one night, 2 months before my wedding, I knelt on the floor of that library and whispered words I had never thought I would say. "Jesus, if you are real, if you are who these pages say you are, save me. I am in chains. I'm being sold like property. I'm dying inside. Save me." The room filled with peace I cannot explain, a presence I could feel but not see, a love that knew everything broken inside me and loved me anyway. I wept. Not silent tears this time, but the sobs of someone finally telling the truth after years of lies. From that moment, everything changed. I was still trapped, still facing forced marriage, still under surveillance, but I was not alone. I had found the one who breaks chains, the underground church. Finding other believers was dangerous but necessary. Through coded conversations with my English tutor, an Egyptian woman named Miriam, who I later learned was a secret Christian, I was connected to an underground house church that met in various locations throughout Riyadh. They called themselves the Stones. Based on 1 Peter 2.5, they saw themselves as living stones being built into a spiritual house. They were mostly foreign workers, domestic helpers, drivers, construction workers from the Philippines, Ethiopia, India, Pakistan. A few were Saudi converts who risked execution for apostasy. Meeting them was terrifying and beautiful. We gathered in an apartment basement at midnight. Someone kept watch. We sang in whispers. We prayed with one eye on the door. Pastor Ibrahim, a Sudanese man who worked as a janitor, baptized me in a bathtub. 7 people witnessed. I emerged from that water feeling like I had died and been reborn, which, I later learned, was exactly the point. "Sister Noor," Ibrahim said, gripping my shoulders, "you have chosen the narrow way. In this kingdom, your faith could cost you everything. Are you ready?" I wasn't. How could anyone be ready for that? But I nodded anyway. "Then remember this," he said. "No one can take your salvation. No one can separate you from the love of Christ. Not tribulation, nor distress, nor persecution, nor famine, nor nakedness, nor danger, nor sword. You are hidden in him." Those words became my lifeline in the weeks ahead. The church taught me to pray constantly, turning every moment into conversation with God. They taught me that Christianity was not about religious performance, but about relationship with a living person. They taught me that Jesus had already paid the price for every sin, every failure, every broken thing inside me. "You are not defined by what was done to you," Miriam told me. "You are defined by whose you are. You belong to the King of Kings, and that makes you freer than any princess has ever been." The plan unravels. My wedding date approached like an execution. 40 days, 30 days, 20 days. Prince Khalid visited twice for formal meetings. Both times he spoke to my father about me as if I weren't there. "She is quiet." "Good. I prefer obedient wives." He looked at me the way one assesses livestock. No curiosity about my thoughts, my dreams, my soul. I was an acquisition. The wedding preparations accelerated. Dresses were fitted. Guests were invited. The ceremony would be at the royal palace, attended by foreign dignitaries and broadcast on state television. I would become a symbol of tradition, continuity, the proper role of women in the kingdom. Inside I was screaming. I prayed constantly. God, I trust you, but I don't see a way out. Show me what to do. The answer came through Miriam. There is an underground network, she whispered during a lesson. They help people flee. It's dangerous. Many are caught, but some make it out. Where would I go? There are safe houses in Jordan, Lebanon, eventually Europe or America. But Noor, you must understand, if you run, you can never come back. Your family will disown you. The government will hunt you. You will lose everything. I had already lost everything that mattered. The question was whether I had the courage to act. The network made contact, a sympathetic embassy worker, a driver who could be bribed, forged documents, a detailed plan that required perfect timing and extraordinary luck, or as I came to see it, a miracle. The night of escape. 15 days before my wedding, everything aligned. My father was traveling to Dubai. My mother was hosting a charity function. The security rotation would change at midnight. A diplomatic car would be waiting 2 streets away. I packed nothing except the Bible, passport, and a single change of clothes hidden under my abaya, leaving behind wealth, status, family, identity, everything. At 11:47 p.m., I walked out of my quarters, heart hammering. The guard at the door was Hassan, the one contact we had cultivated. He looked at me, then away. Princess Noor is not feeling well, he said to his radio. She has retired early. I walked through corridors I had known my entire life, seeing them for the last time, through the eastern garden, over the low wall in the blind spot of the cameras, into the alley where Miriam waited. Quickly, she whispered. We moved through back streets, 2 women in abayas among thousands, unremarkable, invisible. The car was there, a Lebanese diplomat named Rami risking his career. Get in, quickly. We drove toward the Lebanese embassy compound. Once inside its gates, I would be protected by international law. Just 5 more miles. 3 miles from safety, headlights appeared behind us, coming fast. They know, Rami said, gripping the wheel. The trial by fire. The black SUV forced us to stop in an empty stretch of road near the industrial district. 2 men emerged. One I didn't recognize. The other was Faris Al-Otaibi, my father's head of security, a man known for his efficiency and ruthlessness. Step out of the vehicle, Faris commanded. Rami showed his diplomatic credentials. This woman is under embassy protection. This woman is a fugitive princess of the royal family. Step aside. Time fractured into terrifying clarity. This was it. All the prayers, all the faith, all the courage, meeting its test. Faris approached my door, signaling to his partner. They would take me by force if necessary. Return me to my father. The wedding would proceed. My attempted escape would be erased from history. I began to pray. Not coherent words, just Jesus, Jesus, Jesus over and over. Faris opened my door, reached for my arm. His grip was iron. And then, I cannot explain this in natural terms, everything stopped. The air became thick, charged, like the atmosphere before lightning strikes. Faris's hand on my arm began to tremble. His face drained of color. He staggered backward as if struck by an invisible force. What? He gasped. What is this? I felt it too. A presence, not threatening, but overwhelming in its power and purity, as if the very air had become concentrated love and holiness. I could sense, no, I could feel Jesus standing between us, not metaphorically, actually, tangibly present. Faris fell to his knees, his professional composure shattered. His partner stood frozen, unable to move. The air shimmered with heat that wasn't temperature, but something beyond physical sensation. I see, Faris's voice cracked. I see him. The Nazarene. He is... Tears poured down his face. This hardened man, who had intimidated dozens, now wept like a child. The light. So much light. I cannot touch you. He stands between us. I watched, stunned, as this man who moments before had meant to drag me back to captivity now prostrated himself on the ground, trembling. Forgiveness, he cried out. The word tore from his throat like a confession extracted by pain. I need forgiveness for everything I have done, the people I have hurt, the orders I have followed, the conscience I silenced. Forgiveness. The presence intensified. I felt waves of love, not sentimental, but fierce, purifying. The love that burns away everything false. The love that sees every sin and loves anyway. The love that pursued Saul on the Damascus road and Faris on a dark street in Riyadh. Time suspended. Seconds or minutes, I couldn't tell. The presence of Christ was so tangible that the physical world felt thin, temporary, almost translucent compared to this reality. Then Ferris looked up at me, his face transformed. "Go," he whispered hoarsely. "Go. I cannot stop you. He will not let me, and—" His voice broke again. "I do not want to any more. What we do to women in the name of honor and tradition, it is evil. God forgive me. God forgive us all." He stood shakily, turned to his partner who remained paralyzed with fear. "We saw nothing," Ferris said. "The car was empty. The princess was never here. Do you understand?" His partner nodded frantically. Ferris looked at me one last time. "Tell him," he gestured to the space where we both had felt Christ's presence. "Tell him I said yes, whatever that means. Tell him I said yes." Then they left, simply drove away. I collapsed in the car, shaking uncontrollably. Rami sat in stunned silence. Miriam held me, whispering prayers of thanksgiving. "Did that just happen?" Rami finally asked. "Jesus," I managed to say. "Jesus was here. He protected me. He convicted Ferris. I couldn't finish. The magnitude of what had occurred overwhelmed language. We made it to the embassy. I was officially under protection. Within 3 days I was on a flight to Beirut, then to London, then to America. But I carried something more valuable than safety. I carried the memory of Christ's tangible intervention, the proof that he is not a distant deity or abstract concept, but a living person who breaks into our darkest moments with power and love. The cost of freedom. The aftermath was swift and brutal. My family issued a statement disowning me. My father declared me dead to the family, a traitor to the kingdom. Interpol received requests for my arrest on fabricated charges. Saudi state media ran stories painting me as mentally unstable, corrupted by Western influence, a disgrace to royal honor. My mother sent one message through intermediaries. "You have killed me. I cannot show my face in society. How could you do this to your family?" The guilt nearly destroyed me. Not for leaving, I knew that was right, but for the pain my freedom caused others. Every choice has a cost. Sometimes the cost is carried by people you love. But the church community that received me reminded me. Jesus said following him would divide families. He said the gospel brings not peace, but a sword, separating those who accept truth from those who reject it. Your family's honor was built on oppression. Their shame is their own response to your freedom, not your responsibility. Still, the grief was real. I mourned my family even as I rejoiced in salvation. The first months in America were bewildering. Freedom felt terrifying after a lifetime of control. I could wear what I wanted, go where I pleased, speak my mind, and the sheer weight of choice paralyzed me. I had been trained to wait for permission. Now no one was controlling me, and I didn't know how to navigate that. Trauma doesn't disappear with a change of geography. I had nightmares about Khalid finding me, about being dragged back, about the wedding proceeding. I woke screaming. Simple things triggered panic. Men's voices raised in anger, the sound of approaching footsteps, anyone touching me without warning. A Christian counselor helped me understand. You experience systematic abuse disguised as culture and honor. Healing takes time. Be patient with yourself. Christ has freed you legally and spiritually, but emotional freedom is a journey. That journey continues. Some days I feel strong, confident in my identity as a daughter of God. Other days I feel like an imposter, too damaged for his love, too broken for his purpose, too guilty about my family to fully embrace joy. But the church keeps reminding me, that's a lie from the enemy. Jesus died for the broken, the guilty, the damaged. That's all of us. Your past does not disqualify you from his love. It qualifies you to testify to his power. The ripple effect. 6 months after my escape, I received an encrypted message. It was from Ferris. "Princess Noor, you do not know me beyond our brief encounter, but I have not stopped thinking about what happened that night. I saw him. I felt his presence. It changed everything. I have been secretly reading the Bible. I have been meeting with Christians. I cannot stay here and continue the work I was doing. I'm planning my own escape. Pray for me, and thank Jesus that he pursued even someone like me." 3 months later, Ferris made it to Lebanon. He now works with the same underground network that helped me, using his insider knowledge to facilitate other escapes. He says that night on the road was his Damascus experience, the moment Christ arrested him and turned him completely around. Miriam continues her work in Riyadh, though we fear for her safety. She says every woman she helps find Jesus, every person she connects to the underground church, makes the risk worthwhile. My sister Amira sent a secret message. "I am proud of you. I wish I had your courage. Maybe someday." And there have been others, women who heard my story, who realized they didn't have to accept lives chosen for them, who found the courage to say no, who discovered Jesus in their darkest moments. The Saudi government hates me. I represent everything they fear. A woman who chose herself, who rejected their authority, who exposed their oppression. They would prefer I stay silent, disappear, stop telling my story. But I cannot be silent, because silence protects abusers. Silence enables systems of oppression. Silence keeps women in chains. So I speak. At forums like this, in interviews, through writing, telling the truth about what happens behind palace walls, about the women still trapped, about the God who breaks chains, the theology of freedom. What I have learned is that freedom is not primarily political. It is spiritual. You can remove a woman from a palace, and she remains imprisoned by fear, shame, trauma, the internalized voice of her oppressors. Legal freedom without inner transformation is just a different kind of cage. True freedom comes from knowing whose you are. When you understand that you are created in God's image, loved unconditionally, purchased by Christ's blood, indwelt by the Holy Spirit, you become free at the deepest level, free from the need for approval, free from the power of shame, free from the fear of man. Paul wrote, "Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom." This is not anarchy or rebellion for its own sake. This is the freedom to become who God created you to be, the freedom to love, to choose, to grow, to heal, to flourish. The kingdom I fled preaches submission, women to men, individuals to the state, everyone to a religious authority that claims to speak for God. But Jesus preaches submission only to Him, and He offers relationship, not domination. He washes feet. He serves. He dies for those He loves. This is radical in any culture, but especially mine. A God who serves, a king who dies for his subjects, a ruler who says, "I no longer call you servants, but friends." This turns every earthly power structure upside down. And forgiveness. The theology of forgiveness changed everything for me. I expected to carry hate for my father, for Khalid, for the system that tried to sell me. Hate is justified. Hate is righteous anger at injustice, but hate also imprisons the hater. Jesus taught radical forgiveness, not because our offenders deserve it, but because we need to be free from the poison of bitterness. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing or reconciling with abusers. It means releasing them to God's justice so we can live in God's peace. I have forgiven my father, not because what he did was acceptable, but because I will not let his choices define my future. I have forgiven Khalid, not because he deserves it, but because Christ forgave me when I didn't deserve it. And I have seen the power of forgiveness in Faris, a man transformed because Christ pursued him with relentless love, convicted him, and then forgave him. He now uses the skills he learned as an oppressor to set captives free. That is the upside-down kingdom of God, standing here. Tonight, friends, I stand before you tonight not as a victim, but as a victor. Not because of my strength, but because of His. Not because I was brave, but because He was faithful. I stand here as proof that no chain is too strong for Christ to break, no system too powerful for Him to overthrow, no darkness too deep for His light to penetrate. There are still women trapped in palaces tonight, silently crying, believing no one hears. But God hears. There are still underground churches meeting in secret, risking everything to worship the one who is worth it, and God sustains them. There are still agents of oppressive governments who will one day, like Faris, encounter the living Christ and have their lives transformed, because God pursues relentlessly. My prayer is not for revenge against my persecutors, but for their salvation. My prayer is not for the destruction of the kingdom, but for its transformation by the gospel. My prayer is that every woman in Saudi Arabia, in Afghanistan, in Syria, in every place where women are treated as property, would discover the truth that sets free. You are loved. You are valuable. You are God's image bearer. You have dignity that no law, no man, no tradition can take away. And to those who think my story is simply about escaping one culture for another, let me be clear. I did not flee to Western freedom. Western culture has its own forms of bondage, its own ways of objectifying women, its own idols that enslave. I fled to Christ, who transcends all cultures, who judges all systems, who frees all captives. The cross stands in judgment over every nation, every government, every religious institution, every family system that oppresses the vulnerable. And the resurrection promises that death, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual, never has the final word. My invitation. I close with this invitation, the same one Jesus gave to the woman at the well, to the woman caught in adultery, to every broken person He encountered. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, For I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. Whether you are trapped in an abusive marriage, enslaved by religious tradition, imprisoned by fear, bound by shame, there is freedom in Christ. Not easy freedom, not freedom without cost, but real freedom. The freedom to be fully human, the freedom to live in truth, the freedom to love and be loved without conditions. And if you think you are too far gone, too broken, too guilty, remember Pharis, a man who made his living oppressing others, who came to drag me back to captivity, who encountered Jesus and was transformed in an instant. If Christ can save him, he can save anyone. That night, on the dark road, when Jesus stood between me and my captor, when his presence filled the air with love and power, when he convicted a hardened man to cry out for forgiveness, that was not just for me. That was a demonstration for everyone watching, everyone listening to this testimony tonight. Christ is still intervening, still protecting, still transforming, still setting captives free. And he is inviting you, whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever you've done or had done to you, to come to him, to find in him the freedom your soul was created for. This is my testimony. This is my joy. This is my hope. Jesus is real. His love breaks every chain. His truth sets every captive free. And no power in heaven or earth can stop him. Thank you for listening. May God bless you and free you now and forever. Amen.